Alright, so in the car now, car's up to temp. I wanted to go over mode 1 of operation just a little bit. Mode 1 is using the dyno without the DAC. I'll try to hold this close so you guys can actually see what's going on, because I know that's going to be horrible to look at. So you're only using the handheld, so we're not getting any information out from the dyno, only from the handheld. The way it works is when you fire your dyno up, your handheld is going to start at this screen that has your two oxygen sensors, your RPM and your mile per hour. If you want to turn your AFR on, you press the plus key, and that'll turn your AFR on. It turns on natively to lambda. If you want to change it to AFR, you press plus again. And while the sensors warm up, it'll display a nominal value. Press minus to turn it off. If the car sits idle for a long time and doesn't have airflow, these will shut off. So if you're logging AFR, just make sure they're on and warmed up and you're not running the car over a sensor where the heater is not active. Right, so that's the first screen on the handheld. Use the down and up keys to navigate the handheld. So if we press down again, there's just a DAC screen. Press down again, there's a screen that displays the power absorption unit. Pt.1 for all the chassis dyno guys is going to be your only power absorption unit. Pt.2 for the hub guys will be the secondary. You can manually add PAU by using the plus and minus keys on this screen to turn the eddy brake up and down. You can use that. That's pretty good for using troubleshooting, seeing how you want to load the dyno up, etc., etc. So that actually does work. Press the down key again, you have more DAC. Here's another manual PAU screen. From this manual PAU screen, if you press the decimal key, so if you press this key right here, when you press the decimal key, you can zero the load cell out from this screen. -1, 0 on this dyno, so that's how it's going to look. There we go, zeroed out. Next screen over, you have your weather station. It is a really warm day for January today. Just kind of worked out that way. Not my favorite, but that's what it is. This is your PID mode, so this is where most of mode 1 is going to happen. Under PID, to navigate this screen, if you want to move up and down on the screen, you're going to use the left and right arrows. If you want to change the value beside the colon, you're going to use plus and minus. So to turn pit mode on, you're going to press the plus key. So press the plus key. The first mode is RPM. If I press plus again, speed, and these are constant speed tests, so steady state, if you will. PAU, you can target a specific power absorption from the eddy brake. Acceleration, you can target a constant accel rate and it'll run a PID to give you your acceleration rate. VRS, it'll use the VRS settings that are held in the handheld, not the ones on the dyno. It'll use what you have set up in the handheld to run a virtual road simulation. And then you have an acceleration over RPM, it's RPM over time. So you're going to say, I want to go 600 RPM a second. All these, if you're not worried about your numbers yet, if you're just getting the car started up and you're just cleaning up the AFR and stuff like that, you're going to set one of your pit modes. So if I wanted to go down here and set a specific RPM, I use the right and left key. So I press right to go down and press left to go up. I'm going to go down here. We'll enter in an RPM value that we want to start with. You press the OK button. When you press the OK button, it's going to take you back to this screen. You're going to accelerate up to 2,500 RPM based on whatever pickup you use. If you're using an optical pickup, it'll work in every gear. If you're using a gear ratio as your pickup, it's only going to work in the gear you define on the handheld, which I'll show you how to do in just a minute. All right, from this screen, once you attain your speed, that green light will come on. When that green light's coming on, then the dyno's holding you. You can use the plus and minus keys to go up and down in RPM or speed or whatever you're defining. When you're done, you press the OK button and it brings you back to PID mode. Before you actually use the DAC on the dyno, before you go into mode 2 of dyno operation, you want to make sure you turn everything off here. So you want to make sure you take this and turn it off before you actually go to start trying to pull power numbers out of your PC. Everybody like my junkyard? My junkyard. Alright, so let me get a fan on this car and then we will get it going and I'll show you guys mode 1 of operation. God, there's going to be a lot of cuts in these videos. Alright, so for mode 1, when you're using mode 1, you can press the setup button. When you press the setup button repeatedly, it takes you through the setup screens. The first screen you see is your pickup for your mode 1 operation. So if you have it set to gear ratio, you're just telling it this is the gear I'm going to be running the car in, and it's going to use gear ratio to give you RPM if you want to do it by RPM. You can change that with the plus and minus keys. You can change it to optical. Optical, if you're on the crankshaft, it's going to be a value of 1. You can go coil unplug if you guys know how to set that up with like an MSD box. There is a file on the Dynocom forums on Facebook. You can use a TAC output or you can use none. I'm going to keep it simple, keep it set to gear ratio, which will not affect what I'm going to do because I'm going to show you guys mode 1 in speed first, and then I'll go back and show you guys mode 1 in a couple other ways. So that's the first setup screen. It's a cycle setup screen, so you just keep hitting setup. So I'm going to hit setup again. That's just the units you're using, the contrast on the screen, and the diameter of your roll. Torque arm length is correct, shipped from Dynocom, so you don't have to change that. PAU assist, hub dyno guys, if you want to be able to use the stop button to slow the dyno down, you can turn PAU assist to enabled, and then you can apply an amount of eddy brake every time you guys hit the red button to help the car brake faster. So that's just a little tidbit you guys might be interested in. Don't worry about your load control configuration. You don't have to worry about that. These are your how the VRS is natively set up. I do believe it's set up for essentially a pickup truck, 4,000 pounds, frontal area is 28, and your coefficient is 0.36. When I'm just swagging stuff in, that tends to be enough for most vehicles. So if I'm just trying to get my Excel enrichment right and stuff like that, I want a little more load than just what the drum offers, this is fine. You can leave it where it is and it's fine. Pit step increments. So this, if you're using the speed PID, so if you're holding the car at a constant speed, your plus and minus keys will increase and decrease by 5 miles an hour. On RPM, it'll increase and decrease by 500. You can change this, so like all-wheel drive dyno guys doing Subarus, they step in 400 RPM increments. So if you want to change that to 400, you can. This is the screen you do it at. Whenever you make a change, press OK so that the change takes. All right, load increments of 100 pounds. That's your air fuel slope and offset. You guys can leave that alone. It's right. It's correct from Dynocom. This is your PIDs for when you're doing a ramp, etc. When you're on mode 1 of operation. These will be set up 99% of the time. They're perfect out of the box. Some guys, when you change firmwares, it might not get set up if you change it at home. If you upgrade your software, just be sure to check these. It's worth screenshotting. Alright, back to the first screen, so I'm going to cancel out of all this, and then I'll be right back to show you guys mode 1 of operation. Alright, I hope you guys know I'm sweating my balls off in this car for you guys, because I have to turn the AC off so you can hear me. Alright, so going to do mode 1 of operation. We're going to do it over speed for the first example. I'm sorry for the cuts. I keep cutting because I keep getting phone calls. So first thing we're going to do is go 6 screens down from the main screen. So let's get back to the main screen. Here's your main screen. You go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Press 6 times. Press the plus key to turn it on. Right key to go down. We're going to set it to speed. Right key to go down. And we're going to hold this car at 40 miles an hour to start with. I press OK. Brings me back to this screen. And then I'm going to start driving the car up. I'll pick the handheld up in a second so you guys can see it. Because we're being held steady. So if I apply more throttle, it's going to apply more eddy brake to hold the car steady. The more throttle you apply, the more it holds the car steady. If I press the plus key, I'm going to go up 5 miles an hour, and it's going to hold the car back again. Now if you have a data logger or something like that, you can walk through your VE table, any 3D table you want to walk through, you're going to be able to walk through. Let me add some throttle to that. I'm going to see it hold the car back. Go up to 50 miles an hour. Once it stabilizes, you can start to add throttle. It's going to hold the car in a steady state. If I want to pull the car down, I'll press the minus key. It drags me back down. Once it stabilizes, you get back into your VE table. When you're done doing this, press the OK button to go back to your next screen. It's a good idea to not have the car in gear rolling when you zero this value out, because the eddy brake will apply a little bit and drag you down if you're rolling. So it's not the best thing in the world. Pressing the stop key, we're stopping the dyno. So that was PID over speed. I'm gonna figure out what the rear end in this thing is, and then we'll do it over gear ratio so you guys can see it that way. I'm gonna just keep stuttering. Alright guys, on our PID screen for RPMs, I've set it up for 2500 RPM. I'm using gear ratio as my pickup. The 1-to-1 ratio in this car is 4th. The rear end is a 345, so I set that up on my setup screen like I showed you guys previously. So now we're going to press the OK button. It's going to bring us to this screen, and I'm going to drive the car up to 2500 RPM and it'll hold us steady. I'll try to keep it where you guys can see. So it'll be 2500 in the 1-to-1. That's the only gear it's going to work correctly in. Essentially, you just have to think of it as still being based off of speed. We're just using a ratio of dyno RPM and engine RPM. So when I get to 4th gear, I'll hold it up for you guys so you can see the green light will come on when it hits 2500. And now we're being held steady. So if I apply more throttle, it's still holding us steady. If I press the plus button, it's going to go up 500 RPM, and then it's going to hold us steady again, just like that. You can use the plus button and the minus buttons, doesn't really matter. I'm going to bring this back and turn it off. There we go. Put the car in neutral, hit the dyno brake. It could not be simpler, guys. Also, just while I'm thinking about it, when I'm doing transient stuff like tip-in and stuff like that, from the PID screen, I typically like to use VRS. I just use the pickup truck settings that the dyno ships with. It seems to do pretty good on everything. Just click OK, it'll bring you to this screen, and I'm going to make you watch the PAU, so you'll see me accelerate and you'll see the PAU adding load as the car drives on the dyno. So it's simulating road inertia. And as the car accelerates faster, it's going to add more and more load to the dyno and make it seem like the car's working to accelerate. So if I'm sitting here and I just want to punch the car and see what it does, that's where I would do my acceleration enrichment, throttle tip in, that sort of thing from a screen like that. So there you go, guys. That's it.